Geekazine and Geek Smack is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network over at techpodcast.com. If it's tech, then it's here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode that we call the Geekish Schmacks, the Geek Smack, episode number 215. My name is Jeffrey Powers, and today we're going to be geeking the smack out of you like Lego people would geek out of Star Wars, or Star Wars would leak out of... You put my Lego in your Star Wars, you put your What? I don't know. We got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about Verizon and Redbox joining forces to go after the evil Netflix, dun dun dun, and a whole lot more. Today we're brought to you by our friends over at Roku. Stop dreaming, start streaming. Go over to geekazine.com/Roku to find out how you can get yourself a Roku player at $49.99. Over at Mozy Pro, protect your data and protect your business, especially your small to medium business, and we're going to tell you how a little bit later in the show. Go to My PC, access your Mac or PC from anywhere using 3G or Wi-Fi or your iPad or your iPhone or your Android device. Listen to everything over on the audio version. Of course, Geek Smack is brought to you by Stitcher. Go over to stitcher.com/geek. You could win yourself $100. And of course, all this switching, all this cool stuff is brought to you by Telestream and Wirecast, where you can produce your own live webcasts using Wirecast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started with this week's Geek Smack. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the show we call Geek Smack. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for coming to the show. If this is the first time that you've attended one of these live events, then, or it's not really live, it's kind of pre-recorded. It's the show that we call the Smack of Geek or Geek Smack. And thank you very much for coming to the show if it's the first time. We do this every single Tuesday for a Wednesday production date, so you can download it most likely Tuesday afternoon, so you can get all of your great content here. And of course, it's all brought to you by Geekazine.com. Think magazine, take out the mag, put in a geek, and you're geeking out. This is magazine. It's Geekazine. How you doing? That's of course my term. Geek out, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're gonna do in the next 30 minutes or so. We do a little bit of tech news, a little bit of geek news, and a little bit of fun news. And of course, we talk about the main subject. And that main subject is, of course, what happened with Verizon and Redbox and how they're going to compete with the company known as Netflix. No mention on Blockbuster. And I think that's obviously why, because they're not really, I don't know. It is what it is. So anyway, hey, if you've been over to Geekazine, you've checked all the Geekazine stuff out, you know that we're throwing up CES stuff like wildfire. I just put up something with Blue Mike and another one with Sony with how they're actually putting OLED displays into the viewfinders for Sony, which is going to help immensely for some camera people, which is pretty cool. So got about 100 videos to go. I'm going to try and put them up as quick as possible, hopefully done by next week, so we can get on with that, because I still have other content to put up. The event from 2 weeks ago from HP, including that brewery walk, which will be really cool to watch. So you can check that all out over at geekazine.com. Still fighting the ear thing, so I get a little bit wobbly, so I'm just kind of whoa. This morning, I'll tell you something. This morning, I was fine. I woke up, I was fine, and then after an hour, I was just like really woozy. But then now I went and took a shower. I blasted some saline in my nose. I did some eucalyptus breathing and stuff like that. Feels a little bit better, feel a little bit more stable, so I got to deal with that. Hopefully I can get this break very, very soon. They say there's no real cure for it. You just let it go and work itself out naturally. But I know that things like neti pots and steam and stuff like that help. And of course, being in the middle of winter, even though it's a warmer winter, the humidity in this place is pretty much low. In fact, if you walk from room to room and you get a shock when you touch a piece of metal, most likely you gotta add some humidity to where you live. So just and a couple simple things. If you got a coffee pot, this is what I do. I drink tea instead of coffee in these last couple months. And so what I do is I fill up the pot and I put it into the coffee pot and I let it brew water. Because I need to heat up the water anyway, so might as well go through the coffee pot. When it's done, I will take it and I will re-pour it into the coffee pot. It's probably not good for the coffee pot, but the reality is it cooks it again and really steams out, and that builds humidity. Another thing that I do is I get a nice big pot and I put it on the stove filled with water, and then I turn it on really high to get it into a boil, and then I turn it down to about 25% of the heat, so it still starts to steam, and of course that raises the humidity in this place, and life gets a little bit better. The third thing I do is down in the basement, since my floor is wood floor and it's kind of open floor, there's no insulation between there, I'll do my laundry and then I'll throw it in the dryer. I've got it set up so it actually sends it doesn't send out the return valve. In fact, it'll actually kind of steam up the basement, which will then rise and of course create humidity there. So that's another great thing. But of course you got to be able to turn that off during the summer, let it actually naturally go out the side, because you don't want to do that all the time. So anyway, so those are the things that I've been doing to try and keep me sane. Because, of course, the other problem is the truck is still MIA. I'm still waiting to hear from the mechanic to see what it was this time. Basically, it was an electrical problem. We got mice that actually got into the fuse box, and they blew out the whole system. So they fix a problem, and then they find another problem. They fix that problem, they find another problem. So hopefully I'll get a call by the end of today to find out. I'm just looking at my phone right now to find out what's going on there. So, but anyway, I said thank you very much for everybody that watched the CES action. We got a ton more. Thank you very much to everybody that's watched the new show, iPad 365. Those numbers are growing and growing. Today we talked about a game called Dream Pet House. And then tomorrow we're going to be talking about a way to organize your pictures. It's called Picture Table, or Photo Table, Photo Table. So some great programs, great apps, of course. If you want to send me some videos of you reviewing an app, I'll put them up on iPad 365 as well. So finally, it is February. That means it's February album writing month. I've got 2 songs under my belt, which I've written already, and I'm ready to write some more. So check it out. I got the link in the show notes. It's fawm.org. Remember, ORG, that's the important part to FAWM, FAWM.org. Because if you go to .com, you might like the pictures, but then again, you might get offended by the pictures. It depends on who you are, really. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I went a little bit long on that. I apologize, but let's get into your Tech Smack for today. Tech Smack. All right, and why is that so low? Interesting. I'll go like this. How you doing? Anyway, I'll just switch to this view. It just means I have to reposition the cameras again. It happens every now and then. We're going to start over on cnet.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Chrome at last. Chrome at last. All you Android people now. I screwed that up. Let me do that again. Chrome at last. Chrome at last. All you Android people rejoice. It's Chrome at last. Chrome has joyously came to the Android. It took 3 years to do, but now this is Android devices. This is not Linux. Was there Chrome? I believe there was Chrome for Linux computers already, but for you Android users, there is now a Chrome but there is now a Chrome application to put and you can install on your Chrome your Android device. So it's in beta version of the browser, and so a lot of people are really happy about that. It is in the Android market right now, so you don't have to wait for anybody to say, hey, here's a free code or something like that. So test it out, do the beta test, and then let people know what you like, what you don't like about it. Of course, you can always let me know by twittering me over at Geekazine or geekazine@gmail.com. Phone number, of course, is 608-205-4378. And of course, I take calls. I got a call today, actually, from somebody who wanted me to call him back. And ladies and gentlemen, this is just a line where you call me, I put it up on the show, and then talk about it. He wanted to know about a video that I did a year ago, 2 years ago. It was for an Epson video projector. Wanted to know if I reviewed any other projectors as of late and what I would recommend for an outdoor scene. And I'm going to tell you right now that I have not looked at any projectors in the last month or so. For outdoors, I can definitely put some stuff up. Watch for Geekazine. I might just put up a post about projectors and go from there. But that is that. Of course, that article is over on CNET. You can check that out. Going over to Apple Insider, they're finding about Wolfram Alpha, which is a search engine. Of course, you have Google, that's a search engine. You have Yahoo, that's a search engine. Well, technically, it's Bing, Yahoo, whatever you want to call it. But they have back-end search engines to run certain things. Like, for instance, if you ask a search engine what 3 plus 4 is, most likely Wolfram Alpha will give you the answer. Now, same thing goes with Siri. Siri needs an engine to figure out answers. So if you say, Siri, what's 3 plus 4? It will then use the Wolfram Alpha engine to figure out 3 plus 4 equals 7. Or the capital of Denmark. Or, the population of Rhode Island or something like that. I don't know. What is the population of Rhode Island? Anyway, if you know the answer, let me know over at Geekazine. So, but basically, Siri, of course, using Wolfram Alpha, they found out that Wolfram Alpha is accounting for 1/4 of all search engine questions. So so a lot of people are asking, hey, what's the capital of Ossetia? Hey, what's my favorite color? Questions 3, I suppose. So Wolfram Alpha is also going pro, so they'll have a pro version out there. If you're in this realm and you need to have a search engine that can do calculations, that can get you kind of encyclopedia type answers, I like to call it. You should check it out. And of course, that article's over at appleinsider.com. Going over to our friends over at Geek.com, check this one out. BlackBerry Playbook OS 2 is being shown off at the, what do they call it? It was the, where was that? They showed it off, DevCon Europe. And RIM showed off their new Playbook OS 2. Now, I reviewed some tablets earlier, or late in last year. And this was one of those tablets I basically said, once BlackBerry has decided to actually update the OS and do some additional stuff to it, I think the biggest problem with the Playbook was the screen. And the display wasn't that great. They used a cheap display. So hopefully they updated the display. They're showing off the new OS 2 for Playbook, and they added a full handset remote control. And like I said, well, it does say display right there. So pretty cool stuff. What else do they got there? You'll be able to use your QWERTY keyboard on your BlackBerry to enter into the Playbook, which is kind of nice. So you'll use some functionality back and forth between your devices. And it uses a bridge in presentation mode that will let you run apps on your BlackBerry phone and wirelessly push video to the Playbook's display. That's all cool. And of course, we got all that. This over on Geek.com. You can check it out there. Moving on, we're going over to Mashable. Apple is talking about a $38 million fine for the term iPad in China. Apparently, they didn't have the rights to iPad, so there was a Taiwanese company that trademarked the term iPad 2 or 3 years prior. And so they sent iPad over to China, and they said, no, that's ours. You can't have it. Here, you got to pay us now. So $38 million in fine for using that term iPad in China. So right now, if something new comes out, go over to another country and trademark the term. That, especially if it comes out in China, trademark the term in the United States. We've seen this already before with Google, actually, with Gmail. Couldn't use it, and they still can't use it in Germany. They can use Google Mail, but they can't use Gmail because somebody else has the term trademarked and licensed. So if you find out about the next big thing, go and get it trademarked. in another country, and you might get some money out of it, I suppose. So, all right, let's move from here. This is actually a really cool story. This is over on BusinessInsider.com. Who you're looking at is a guy by the name of Bill Ackman. He was the COO of Apple, if I remember correctly, but now he is the CEO. I think, he's the CEO of JCPenney. And is it Bill Ackman that's the CEO? He's the CEO of Pershing Square Capital Management. So basically, that's what's happened. The COO of Apple left Apple, came to JCPenney. He's now the CEO of JCPenney, and they've been doing a lot of stuff. Did you see their JCPenney Super Bowl ad? That was pretty cool. In fact, I don't know if you've seen this. I'm going to pull this up really quick here. Let me switch here. Now, if you haven't seen this, go check out the JCPenney. And of course, if you're listening to the audio, I apologize as I go off on this little tangent here. A lot of people don't notice this, but check it out. Where's my images? There we are. Check this out. It's the new JCPenney logo. And there it is right there. Let me pull it up here really quick. Check this out. This is the new JCPenney logo. Now, a lot of you might not recognize this, but what does this remind you of? And if it doesn't remind you of anything right now, it can subliminally remind you of something. This is think about it, blue on the top left-hand corner, red and white and blue American flag. And you might not see it right away, but as you look at it a little bit closer, pretty darn close to an American flag. I think this is a great marketing step by JCPenney, and I applaud them for it. And I think that, in the United States, it's going to be great. Of course, if you go outside the United States, they might not like it too much. But this is the new JCPenney look, and I applaud them. I completely applaud them for that, because it looks a new direction going from there. So, but anyway, JCPenney is burning up the market. They got those new ads talking about how they're stopped marking down stuff. So I haven't been to JCPenney in a very long time, but they're talking in this article about how they're turning it more into an Apple store. Now, if you've ever been to an Apple store, you know that it's almost all the time packed. And there's people all around trying to see what's going on, trying to look at the iPads and the iPhones and the Apple TVs, not the Google TVs, and all the bits and pieces. They want to buy their stuff. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next year or two, JCPenney will get its own Apple section, kind of like what Best Buy does. Yeah, it could. Well, think about it. He's come COO from Apple, moves to JCPenney. Hello, business opportunity? Yeah, I would say so. Plus, they could get a whole bunch of fashion designers to make cases and devices for your iOS device and sell it. So, and of course, they could be neutral, so they'll also have Android stuff too. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Check it out. It's over on Business Insider, but it's just marketing genius. If you're watching this JCPenney, if you need to look for a stock right now, JCPenney might not be a bad stock to buy at this point. All right, we're going to move over to Computer World. I know I spent a little bit too much time on it, but I was just so excited about that JCPenney stuff. It's just amazing to watch it unfold. And you realize, hey, this is unfolding right now. I'm going to watch it. And I'm just a business end kind of guy of certain things. So anyway, let's move from there. We're going over to computerworld.com. HP, it's letting their partners host what's called Load Runner. And Load Runner, no, it's not Roadrunner, first of all. It's Load Runner. And basically what it is, it's a program that tests out load. It creates a false customer base to go to a website to see if your website can handle it, to go to certain programs to see if the programs can handle it. Before and it's an emulator, and before HP did it internally, but now they're letting their partners host Load Runner, which I think is pretty cool. They have that way you can actually either host it yourself on your systems. You don't have to bug HP every single time. And you save some money on the deal, and you might even be able to let some other people run some of their programs and load run on that. So if you want to read more about it, if you're in the IT world, go over to computerworld.com and you can check that out. All right, I believe this is the last article of today's tech news, and this is basically over at bbc.co.uk. If you use TrendNet, TrendNet Home Security, you might want to be aware of this. There is apparently a security flaw, and in the security flaw, some other people can actually connect up to your camera. So if you've got TrendNet security, you want to check that out right now. Users are concerned that they could be viewing, of course, a child's bedroom and other locations. But I say to myself, why do you have a camera in your child's bedroom? Or unless it turns on the laptop camera, which I don't think it does something like that. They're in the process of releasing updates to correct the coding error. It was actually introduced in 2010 that the error was introduced. So you've had over a year and a half. That's not good. So if you want to read more on that, go to bbc.co.uk. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is the first part of Geek Smack. Of course, we didn't talk about Facebook IPO. You probably heard about that. Yeah, Facebook's going for an IPO. My answer to that, hey, more power to them. I would never actually put money into a company that doesn't have a tangible product to it. So good luck if you do Facebook. And maybe you'll make some money off of it. So I would put money into Apple, even Microsoft, who's got tangible devices. When Facebook comes out with a Facebook phone or something like that, a Facebook game system, then I'll say, hey, it's time to put money in that stock, but not right now. Not right now. Anyway, enough about that. We're going to get you into Geek Smack, and we'll do that. But first, we will do this. Ladies and gentlemen, do you access your PC? Do you take your PCs anywhere with you? Do you take your desktops or well, probably not your desktops, but definitely your laptops. I know this laptop right here always goes with me because I always need to, just in case I need to get onto my website, do a few things, do some video editing. It's all right here. I've got another PC that does video editing too, but this is a great PC to have to travel. But sometimes I just don't want to take either of the PCs. Especially that big old thing over there. There's no way I'm going to be able to take it to places like Las Vegas. So that's why I use a program like Go to My PC, because then I can actually use my tablet, my smartphone, my iPad, so I can connect up to my PC that's sitting here, turned on, ready to go, and use the internet connection here. Use the resources I have here, and not have to take a big old bulky computer with me. It's a great program, and it connects up very easily, very straightforward to set up. All you have to do is install the software. It keeps an icon on your tray, and you set up some passwords. So when you log in to go to My PC, you're asked for a password. You put in that password. Then you go into your machine, and you're asked for a second password. Now, this works if you've got multiple people on the corporate account for Go to My PC. So you have 2 or 3 people accessing 2 or 3 different machines. You might not want them on your machine, so you password protect that. That's different from if you password protected to get into the machine to begin with. So there's a lot of encryption, there's a lot of protection on there, and the best part is you can connect using a 3G hotspot. On Sunday at the Super Bowl, I didn't take my computer with me, and I was uploading a file. I needed to go to the Super Bowl, watch the Super Bowl, of course. And so I used my iPhone to connect up using Go to My PC, and I controlled my screens. It gives me a little virtual mouse to control on my screen, make sure that everything uploaded, so I can go ahead and write the posts and go from there. It's pretty cool, but don't take my word for it. Get a 30-day free trial, 30 days for free for yourself. Try it out for yourself. Let me know what you think. Of course, you can Twitter me at Geekazine or call me at the phone number 608-205-4378. We already had one person ask a question, and that was, I can't remember my passwords on Go to My PC, and unfortunately, I had to tell him, well, you have to go to My PC to get those passwords changed. But anyway, don't take my word for it. Go over to Go to My PC, click that Try It Free Now button, enter in the code PODCAST. Podcast gets you a 30-day free trial of this great software. And let me tell you something, I use it all the time, along with all my other Citrix sessions. Go to Meeting and Go to My PC, and Go to Webinars, the other one I use. So check it out, go to mypc.com. try it free now button and enter in that code podcast. And in fact, it looks like they even took out the try it free now button. But check it out over at gotomypc.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Geek Smack. All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Geekazine.com. At Geekazine is my Twitter handle. Geekazine@gmail.com. Of course, if you go to Geekazine.com, you can go to the contact page and talk to me there. We're on the Geek Smack side, and today we're going to be starting with some coffee. Coffee. Gotta love the coffee, even though I'm drinking water and tea right now. Coffee is really good. It was one of those things that I kind of wanted to give up, but didn't want to give up. I did switch to tea. You know, I do like coffee and I do like tea, but to be able to enter that final plea is, now we won't go into Blues Traveler. But we will say, hey, I would go to this coffee shop a lot more if it was in my hometown. A company called Barista's Coffee. It's a growing chain of coffee houses. They want to take They want to take the Starbucks model. They want to do some reality TV in there, and of course, they want the baristas change them to Hooters girls. Now think about it: Hooters girls in a coffee shop on live TV. Would you watch it? I suppose some of you would. Some of you would go, "Oh my God, mindless MTV fodder once again." To me, I could care less. But apparently, if you are into coffee and if you are into Hooters, then you can check this out. It's over on. If you don't, you can also check it out if you're not into that. But you can check it out. It's over on HuffingtonPost.com. It's called Barista's Coffee Company, and they really want to make it into a Hooters store. So you can read that over there and go from there. It's for all you coffee geeks, all your Hooters geeks, and all your reality TV geeks, for that matter. That's a pretty good trio right there. So, all right, let's go to the infographic of the day. Every week we're going to do an infographic for you. This week we're going to be doing the online privacy woes, and I need to click on that and bring it up as its own separate one because it's small on the webpage. So let's check it out. Let's see if we can show it here. So basically they're talking, it's the wild, wild web. This is on device.com. And that they're talking about Google's privacy policies and what you should be concerned about with all that. First of all, identity theft. 1 in every 10 U.S. consumers have been victimized by identity theft. More than 35 million data records were compromised in corporate and government data. That's why I don't work for corporate or government data. Wait, what? A Carnegie Mellon study found that public online data could be used to accurately predict the full 9-digit social security number of nearly 5 million people. That's actually kind of scary if you think about it. I mean, if you can predict, because there is an actual algorithm to that, the number that actually you need to know the birth date or something like that, and that will bring up that information. So I'm a little bit concerned about that now. I'm thinking about that. So, but if you want to read more on that, go over to device.com. Like I said, we'll have everything in the show notes. All right, here's some geekery for you Lego geeks and you Lord of the Rings geeks, because Lego came out with a Lego Lord of the Rings set. And of course, they're doing first looks over on Gizmodo. I believe they came out on Monday, so you can check that out. They've got a lot of different Lego stuff here that they were showing at the Nuremberg's Toy Fair. So you can check out all the Lego Lord of the Ring sets that are going to be out there, and of course, go over to Gizmodo.com for that. All right, moving from there. Let's go over to Chicago Parent. Speaking of Legos, if you want to go to your own Lego conference, you can go to Chicago. And, well, if you're in the United States, of course, in the Midwest especially, because they got Lego Star Wars Days is this weekend. So you can dress up in your Star Wars costume, and you can play with Legos. I mean, double win right there, right? I don't know. Check it out. The cost is free. It says free with admission, so I'm not exactly sure what that means. Free with admission. And, of course, the family, all ages, everybody can go to that show. That's over at chicagoparent.com is where I got that article. Moving over, we're going over to the Telegraph. We're talking about the last surviving veteran of the First World War. She passed away. Her name was Florence Green. And to talk about her story, how she was part of the Women's Royal Air Force, and when she was 17, and how she went through the World War I. So you can check that out. She was born in London. So sad day as everybody from the First World War has now officially passed that we know of. If somebody comes up and shows their face, then, could be kind of surprised on that. But if you want to read more on that, go over to telegraph.co.uk. Geek alert, geek alert, geek alert. Do you, I don't have hair, so it doesn't bother me, but some of you like to do that Joel McHale bedhead, morning head look where you don't want it nicely, or the John Pose, the guy from The Office, plays Jim on The Office, where you just want to have that bed head. Well, apparently there's a shower cap that does this, and we got this over on geekalerts.com. And basically it's a shower cap, and you apparently put some water in the shower cap, you put it on, and you rub it back and forth on your head, like this, and then you take it off, and of course there's bed head. Now, if I was to do that, it wouldn't do anything. I suppose I could do it to this and maybe get some bed head or bed hair for this, because I do tease this for about 2 hours before you see it. So I don't know. And of course I'll have it in a rubber band. And yes, many people have asked to braid it. Some have been successful, some have not been. And it is to the point where it could be multiply braided. So I could actually have 5 or 6 braids, get into my Irish heritage and put on a kilt and then just braid the crud out of this beard and then paint my face and have a lot of fun with that. So maybe for next episode, we'll see what happens. So anyway, if you want to read more about this, go to geekalerts.com. Moving there, we're going over to The Verge. The Verge, the newest website in our arsenal of websites. And this is actually pretty cool. This is a Google Map terrain to look like Minecraft. So basically what they did was they used Google APIs and WebGL to turn Google Map terrain into cubic blocks. Now, and I guess this is actually a program. This isn't, somebody didn't do any type of artwork. You can't see it at the museum or something like that. But you need Chrome 15 Plus or Firefox 9 to view blocky Earth. And it's thanks to the Canvas and WebGL. And this is acting a little bit funny again. I apologize for that flicker for the people watching the video. So check that out. It's over at theverge.com. Going from there, we're going to go over to howstuffworks.com. If you're a Dickens fan, of course, Dickens is celebrating his 200th year birthday, I guess, or anniversary, whatever you want to kind of call it. He's been dead for a little while, so I don't think it's a birthday anymore in all reality. Memorial, I suppose. 200 years of Charles Dickens. So 20 memorable character names for the works of Charles Dickens. This is over on howstuffworks.com. Pretty cool read right there. And then finally, ladies and gentlemen, this is for all you Lego geeks, this is for all you Mr. Potato Head geeks and all you Star Trek geeks. Hey, you put your Star Trek in my Mr. Potato Head. Hey, you put your Mr. Potato Head in my Star Trek. Of course, this is over at StarTrek.com. It is the Star Trek Mr. Potato Head series. So if you want to be Spock and all of a sudden become evil Spock, you just have to put the beard on. That's kind of cool. I don't know. They're out now. They've been out by August 2011. They have the first look on their Trek product. I guess it's not out yet. So you can check it out. They're the Mr. Potato Head Star Trek characters. And, of course, they'll be on sale very soon. Doesn't say what a price is on here. Let me look at really quick. I do not see a price. Oh, no, it will be priced at about $30. So check that out. It is over at StarTrek.com over on their article blog there. So check that out. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that does bring us to the end of Geek Smack. We're going to get you the main subject, of course, Verizon and Redbox. And we'll be talking about that in a minute. And we will be right back on the Geekazine Geek Smack show. You know, you want to protect your data and you want to protect your business. You get employees that will help you build your business. You get different products to increase your productivity. And of course, you put together a server room so you can actually have a server room and you have your data close by. But you know, if that data room goes down, if all your storage goes down, your hard drives die or whatever, then what are you going to do? You might have some sort of emergency service to put it all back together, get you new hard drives, but do you have a reliable source to put all the data back? I remember 10 years ago, we used to use these tapes, and we'd have this tape system sitting on our walls and on our shelves, and where we had it backed up. But if those tapes went awry in any way, whether the tape broke or they just didn't record the right data, then we lost a whole bunch of customers and a whole bunch of data. 140,000 hard drives die every single week, and that number probably increases due to Moore's Law because there's more hard drives out there, older hard drives out there. If you've got hard drives in your system that are over a year old or less, and you've dealt with elements, especially electrical storms, you know that those hard drives might not be at their peak 100%. I could talk about this all day. As an IT pro, I know all about how hard drives die, but I'll tell you one thing that you might not know. If you have a catastrophic hard drive failure, you might lose all your data. And if that includes your customer base and what they ordered, you could go bankrupt within the end of the year. That's why you need a program like Mozy Pro. It backs up off your systems onto their systems, so you have an off-site backup. It's very detrimental to actually have an off-site backup, especially in a small to medium business where your IT area, your server area might actually be a computer sitting in a basement. Upload it to an off-site backup where it has a full protection, it has full encryption, so when that computer does die, you can then replace the computer, bring all the files back using Mozy Pro. And when it's in the meantime, while you're waiting for that computer to get replaced or those servers to get replaced, you can still pull your data from Mozy Pro so you can continue to work as best you can. Companies like GE, Starwood Hotels, Accenture, Subway Restaurants, Yale, Stanford all use Mozy Pro in one way or another. So don't think that you're protected, even though you have backups. You might have backups on site, but if you have fire, if you have theft, if you have a tornado, if you have any element come into play, then all of a sudden your data might be gone. Like I said, I could go on and on for this. I could tell you about all these great testimonials, but you should try it yourself. Get your computers backed up. This computer, that computer, and all your other computers, servers, desktops. Just call 877-669-9776. That's 877-669-9776. Use the code podcast15. That's going to get you 15% off that already low price. Or go to mozypro.com. That's this website right here, mozypro.com. Remember the code podcast15. Of course, that helps keep the lights on here at Geekazine. And that's over at mozypro.com. All right. You know, I have to admit, I've been seriously thinking about getting rid of my Netflix account. Last week, Starz ended their agreement with Netflix, and Netflix really hasn't updated their online streaming stuff in pretty much 3 weeks. And that's kind of sad. So, how many old TV series can we really endure? I don't know. I did watch some movie, 2.5 stars, I believe it was. It was a B movie, of course, and I enjoyed about 3 or 4 nights ago. But I haven't been to my Netflix ever since. I'm just not finding movies, and it's like, let's watch a movie. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go up on Netflix. There's nothing there. And so it's getting a little bit frustrating. Now, enter in a company like Redbox and Verizon, who just created this partnership. Now, I'm not keen on heading to a store and going to a kiosk, pulling out a movie, watching it, and then 24 hours later having to go back to that kiosk to return the movie. That's why I don't normally use Redbox. But, you know, the prices are a lot better than Amazon, unless I get the Amazon Prime. So, and of course, I don't have Amazon Prime. If you do have Amazon Prime, let me know. So then, let me know if that's worth it, because I might just drop my Netflix for Amazon if it's the same price. Now, with Verizon adding streaming in the second half of 2012, it's not going to happen just yet. It's going to be the second half of 2012. You could actually see Redbox compete with these online services, especially with Blockbuster, who has almost no online presence whatsoever. It's a little bit. We won't get too much into that, but the bottom line is, Redbox could really become the next chapter in online streaming. Of course, Netflix, they upset their customers 6 months ago, and they've been falling ever since. They've gained some ground back since, and there's still people that do the DVD rentals, and then people that do the streaming. If you do the DVD rentals, you can get new titles right away. But if you get streaming, you got to wait 90 to 180 days, and even more for some movies. Now, for the Verizon Redbox situation to happen, for them to actually get into the market, they have to hit hard on over-the-top television. They have to get in the Roku, they have to get in the Boxy, they have to get in the Xbox 360, PS3, and any other embedded TV or Blu-ray player. They got to do it now. They got to do it in the next 3 months before they launch the service. So when people start going to their TVs, they say, hey, there's Redbox, there's Verizon Redbox right there. That's pretty cool. Now, what about the DVD rental? You might be asking yourself, would you choose to go to the mall and get DVDs through the kiosk, or would you want to get them through the mail? If I saw a U.S. Postal ad and they basically said paper is still great, and of course they need to because they're going bankrupt. So wouldn't they want to get back behind a company like Netflix and give them some great discounts? Because they're the ones that are actually, surviving the helping survive the U.S. Postal Service. Well, what if Redbox did the same thing? You can actually mail your Redbox discs back. Wouldn't that be great? I think it would be pretty darn good, instead of having to drop it off. Now, the difference is, of course, the price of a stamp. Instead, you're actually going to the kiosk to return the movie, and then, of course, the movie will be instantly available. Now, if they did have an option that I could go online and say, okay, I want to reserve this at this kiosk. I know it's there. I want to reserve it right now, and I'm going to go get it. And you have like a 20 to 30 minute window or something like that to get to the kiosk to actually get the movie. I think that would be an actual advance option to get that movie and then find out, hey, this movie is back sometime today. You can watch for it. And then when it's ready, we're going to alert you via SMS or something like that. That would be cool as well. But all in all, we're going to have to see how this all plays with how Verizon's going to partner up with Redbox. If they're going to make a strong partnership, if they're going to make a weak partnership, and what Netflix is going to do to counter it. Because Netflix has to worry about it. Granted, they have their own original programming coming, but is original programming going to be enough to keep these millions of Netflix subscribers? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know. You can Twitter me over at Geekazine. Of course, geekazine@gmail.com is the email address. And of course, the phone number, 608-205-4378. I did get a phone call from Bruce Barr, the gadget guy, and I do apologize. I just remembered that at this very second. He did ask me a couple questions. I believe it was on the day in tech history stuff. So, Bruce, if you're listening, thank you very much for your phone call. I will check it out, and of course, I'll get back to you on that. Feel free to call me back at 608-205-4378. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that does bring it close to Geek Smack, and we're at the 45-minute mark, so it looks like I might have to be doing some editing so I can get this up online. But anyway, my name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching the show. Thanks a lot for listening to the show. If you're listening over on Stitcher, remember Stitcher.com/geek. You download it for your mobile device, even for the iPad, and you could win yourself $100. That's pretty sweet. So anyway, until next week, we will have another Geek Smack show. Of course, watch iPad 365. Next episode comes out tonight. Of course, you can watch the game we talked about, Dream Pet House, and then the previous 37 episodes that I've already done over at Geekazine.com. CES Action's over there too. And of course, the Day in Tech History is over on DayInTechHistory.com. That brings us to the close. Thanks a lot for watching and listening. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to geek out yourself and get out there and show me your geek. Until next week, take care.